Hello everyone and welcome to my video. Today's video we're going to be covering a little bit of the grading standards, specifically grading definitions of those standards. There's already a current standard and definitions out for our comic books as far as grading is concerned, but there's also another one that's growing right alongside that isn't so well defined, and that's what I want to touch on today. So after this short video intro, we're going to get right into that. Okay, see you soon. Welcome back. Comic Sniper here along with my sidekick, my trusty sidekick Mark III. We're talking all about grading definition that pertains to the grading standard. For those of you who are veterans in the hobby, this will be kind of a lot of this will be a refresher to you. But I also want to talk about another standard or definition to the standards that are running alongside the typical definitions that we know. Of course, the near mints, the 9.0s, that kind of stuff, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about those as a refresher. That is to kind of help either the newer collectors that are getting into the hobby, or maybe the ones such as myself who came back into the hobby after many years, that I came back a few years ago, and it helped me to watch YouTube videos and to kind of catch up, you know, with regards to what's happening in the hobby, the definitions that I'll find, the terms, and what they mean. Okay, so this is kind of alongside that to help those people as well, but as well to kind of touch on a new one that is that I'm starting to see in our hobby. Okay, so let's start off with back in the day. Of course, a little bit of history. Back in the day when I was a young lad just collecting comic books, okay, before there was Overstreet, because Overstreet kind of defined grading in this manner. Okay, they went before the grading companies came along, CGC, PGX, CBCS. Overstreet kind of try to help define what a raw book grading standard was based on how they felt it should be graded. So they kind of set the bar first using the lettering system of mint, near mints, very fines, very good, and then all the way down to poor. Right? So actually they were more likely it was around near mint down. Okay, that was the standard that Overstreet was doing. Now, even before Overstreet, or right around Overstreet time, before that was the case, when I was a young lad just talking to comic book stores, let's say you wanted to sell or buy something, you'll see what I heard a lot of times was that word, the near mint, was thrown around a lot. And that would be used by the comic book stores, the comic book guy behind the counter, the owners, and then for even people that you wanted to trade with, your friends, you know, they would say, I think that book's a near mint condition, man. That's a really high grade. They call it's around near mint, right, or just about near mint. But the near mint was always thrown around quite liberally and almost at everything to help describe it, right? Once in a while you'll hear like it's in good condition, or it's an okay, or it's just around that good condition, but not so much. Usually near mint is what I heard a lot of anyways. And that's why I guess when Overstreet had to, came along, they decided, hey, we should really try to define this. And then you'll see, then that's when you started seeing comic book stores kind of flip open the Overstreet guide to help define what the grading system might be. And this is just before the grading companies came along. So, but when the grading companies came along, they used this, but in conjunction with. And what they ended up using and turned to was the numbering system. So what they created was this 10.0 for a completely mint comic book, all the way down to an incomplete of 0.1 to 0.03 and everything in between. So of course the 1.0 being fair, right? 2.0 being good. Very good was ended up being 4.0. Fine was 6. VF was 8, and then near mint was 9.4, and then everything in between. So that was the standard, and that's what we have today between the 3 grading companies. When you send the book in to get graded, it will get a number grade beside it, and then you can match it up with the letter grade that runs alongside of it. Okay, so that's perfectly fine, and that's what we have today as a grading standard. So, but once you once you go on the internet, let's say you wanted to buy a book, a slab book, you kind of know, and this is not the video of whether the grading standard is right or not. That's just what it is. Okay, that's a whole new subject, and don't want to get into that today. But what I do want to get into is, aside from this, now this is the standard, okay, as we know it. There is another grading terminology that is running alongside this, and you will find it mostly when you talk to people, let's say at a Comic-Con, comic book shows, on eBay, right? And on the internet, let's say Instagram, Facebook, or on YouTube, when people are buying or selling stuff or trading, what you will find is this grading standard. Check this out. Okay, and this is mostly for people who don't want to commit their book to a specific grade based on either several factors, whether they're not confident in their grading, so which means they don't want to give it a 6.0 where it could be lower or higher. So what they'll do is they'll give it a high grade status, mid grade, and low grade. Okay, now I'll get into how I broke it down in a second. Okay, the reason I wanted to make this video is I started thinking about this when I saw a YouTuber showcasing his book. I'm not gonna say who it is, just a lot of people showcase their books, but I just found it kind of interesting, and that when he was showcasing his books, and there were slab books, he said, well, these are the slab books that I have in my collection that is low grade. Okay, now when this happened, he was showing books anywhere remember, these are slab books, anywhere around this grade, but all the way up to a 5.5. So he had books in his collection up to a 5.5, but his definition was low grade. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, because I always thought like 5.5 was mid grade in my world, in my mind. Okay, that would kind of be a mid grade product. So how I define for myself, and again, there is no standard. This is not this is not written in any publication, or nobody has set out a standard for people to use on this. But for me, what I define as high grade is anywhere from 8.5 all the way up to a 10, okay, and everything in between. From mid grade, 8.0, which is a VF, all the way down to a 4.0, which is VG. So that's what I call a mid grade. And then of course a 3.5, which is a VG minus, all the way down to an incomplete, which is 0.01 to 0.03. That's what I would consider low grade. So when somebody, whoever they may be, they might not, like I said, they might not want to commit to grading their raw book. Let's say, for instance, they don't want to say, well, it's a fine, or it's a fine minus or fine plus. They just don't know, or they don't want to give a specific grade. They will call it mid grade. Okay, and you'll find this a lot of times, especially on eBay. You'll see that high grade status and they'll assign that as a high grade or mid grade or low grade. You'll see that quite a bit, and then they'll show you pictures, right? Or they'll when it comes to shows, they'll give you the book. You can decide for yourself based on what you see, you know, as to what specifically the grade you want to give it. So they don't want to assign a grade, but they'll tell you it's in that ballpark, and then you can narrow it down based on what you see and how you would grade that, right? And that's how it's been happening for quite a while. And that's why I thought this would be relevant with regards to giving it a bit of a definition as to what these grades could be, right? So the high grades, mid grades, and low grades. But as you will see, that is being broken down even farther to this, because it is not enough. This is so vague, right? People are finding this so vague that you will actually now start to see, and I'm seeing this out there. This is not something I've made up. Okay, I'm not making this up. This is, you will find this out there. You'll see the high grades, mid-high grades, mid-grade, mid-low grade, and then low grade. So to help kind of define this, for me, this is my definition of high grade. When it comes to now they've broken it down to even more, to this 5 grading system. Anything in this that's defined near mint to 9.4 and up, that's what we would be calling high grade, or what I would define as high grade. So a mid-high or high-mid, whichever way they refer to it, anywhere between 9.2 to 8.0, which is a near mint minus to a VF, okay? And then a mid-grade is 7.5 VF minus all the way down to a 5.5 fine minus. And then the mid-low grade or low-mid grade, however you want to, whichever way they refer to, 5.0, which is a VG fine, all the way down to a 3.0, which is a good, very good. And then anything lower than a 2.5, which is good plus lower, would be defined as low grade in this scenario. Because it's not enough that it's maybe somebody is a little bit more, they're a little bit sure about their grading, so they might go, well, it's not just a high grade, or it's not just a mid grade, it's right in between, it's a mid-high grade. Okay, that's what you will start to see out there, and I'm seeing this out there. That's why I'm bringing this up. Okay, now it's kind of funny. You notice before there was very vague standard, right? Basically 1 or 2 words to define the grade of a comic book, whether they were raw. Then we came down to a lettering system, but when Overstreet first came out, I think they were smaller than this. They were quite a bit smaller. I wasn't around back then, or I didn't pay attention to it enough back then. And then the grading companies came along, and then they broke it down even more so. And then, as you can see, broke up the highers and the lower grade even more so to give it this amount of grading system. And then what does everybody do? Well, they break this down into, they lump it up and give it 3. But that's but now that's so vague, we're breaking that down into 5, and then now we are getting into the point where I'm starting to see this is even broken down even more. So you will see things like a higher mid grade, like a high grade, so, or even super high grade. That when people refer that especially to a raw book, something that is almost flawless, like super high grade, it's going to be at least a 9.8, maybe even a 9.6 as the lowest. That's what they're referring to, like a super high grade. They don't see anything wrong with it. Maybe the grading company will find something, but they don't see anything wrong with it, so they call it a super high grade. And then of course they will go a high mid grade or a higher mid grade. You'll start to hear this. So somewhere around, it'll be 9s at least, 9 to a 9.6 even. So this is kind of in this range. And then of course the a lower mid grade, you'll start to hear the lower mid grade. And then Oh, sorry, the lower mid grade is in here. I'm kind of getting my words mixed up here as well. So when they say lower mid grade, they kind of define it around let's say a 2.0, so around that area. And then of course the mid low, like a lower mid grade. So they want this area and so forth. So you'll hear different terms kind of defining, breaking this down even more. So just watch out for those. And of course, that's just them, that's just people trying to do their best to not give it a full grade, but giving you a more, somewhere in the ballpark grade. Okay, and that's what that means. So guys, I don't know if you know, it's out there, and for myself, when you're out there looking at those books, again, they don't want to commit to a grade, so that's why you are having to make up your mind on the grade, and that's why that's why this is starting to come out. So I just thought this would be very interesting as a topic. I just wanted to kind of bring up, and hopefully you find this interesting, and you know, maybe open up a topic and see what everybody's thoughts are on this. Okay, so anyways, that's I just wanted to bring that up and bring up this grading system for you guys, and the comparison, as you can see where this all goes. All right, and as usual, I want to give a shout out to my latest subscribers, and give a thanks out by putting, you know, some of the newer subscribers up on the screen there. And if you want to be if you want your name on the screen, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel. That's it. Very nice and simple. All right, and then of course hit that like button, and as well as the notification bell. That way you're informed of my latest videos when they come out. And of course, as usual, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Tell me what your definition of these you know, newer grading system is. When somebody says that, how are you interpreting it? Because really, this is my way, and you might be a little bit different. I'd love to know where your lines kind of lie in this, whether it be the same or different from mine. Let me know what you think. And of course, while you guys are checking out comic books and defining whatever grades they are and picking those up, make sure you enjoy the hunt. All right, so Comic Sniper here along with Mark 3, signing off until the next video. We'll talk to you then. Bye bye.